today. I don't know if it's a Mediacom, the internet sucks issue, or if it's the fact that outside is horrible. Like, look at that. All gray and cloudy and beautiful. But not great for technology and everything like that. So today we're going to be on my phone for the podcast. And I'm sorry in advance if this is really, really, really shaky. No. Okay. So today we're going to be talking about the PS5 Unreal Engine tech demo. And I wonder, would it be easier? I'm going to set you guys down right there just for the moment. So, if we get this started. Alright, so I got to learn how to do all this. So we're going live on my phone and recording on the computer. All while the PS5 Unreal Engine 5 tech demo is going to be going on the computer, which I'm just going to have to hold up the phone and show it to you guys, and we'll see how it goes. Ah! Hello. There we go. So, let us begin. So, if you didn't know, Unreal Engine is a game development engine that is, it's used by a lot of games. I don't know anything specific. Hold up, you. I don't remember any of the games right off the top of my head. I'm pretty sure Final Fantasy was made on it. I think that Arkham Asylum, or I don't know if all, but some of the Batman games have been made on it. And anyway, it's just a game engine that is used for PlayStation and PCs. And they came out with a new version of it, a updated version, which is insane. This isn't my first time watching the video. This is probably going to be like my third or fourth time, just because I think it's that crazy. My first time watching it, I pretty much had the same reaction as the Angry Joe show, which that's a pretty awesome show. If you haven't checked it out, you should. But Unreal Engine 5 is the new release of Unreal Engine, and it's supposed to come out next year. It's supposed to come out next year, and it's supposedly only going to be available for the PS5 and for PC. So Xbox will not get it, as far as we know. And once we get into it, I'll give like all my thoughts, but the whole reaction is essentially like, oh my goodness, I can't believe that this is happening. So we're going to go ahead and start that video, and I'm just going to pause it in between what they say, and then through the entire actual visual rundown of the demo, I'll just let that play, that way you guys can enjoy it. And if you want to watch it on your own, just go to YouTube, type in Unreal Engine 5, and the tech demo will be one of the first results. So here we go. Epic Games.
Hello, I'm Brian Karras, Technical Director of Graphics here at Epic Games.
Hi, I'm Jerome Plateau, Art Director of the Special Project.
Before we go forward, I just want to say that is an awesome pairing, the fact that they have game developer for the engine and the artist coming in, because if you think about it, video games are art. So the fact that they brought in the artist director to have a say in what was going into the engine, I think that was a really, really smart move on Epic's part. Continue.
A few years ago, we got together as a team and brainstormed where we thought we could push forward state-of-the-art and real-time graphics. There were two key areas that stood out. The first, dynamic global illumination. Beautiful bounce lighting, instantaneously.
I don't have to be constrained to do a game where the world has to be static, and I'm able to iterate a lot faster.
And we call this new system Lumen. We are about to show you what it is capable of.
All right, so before we go forward again, so what they were just talking about, most games, here, switch it back to me. Hi. So most games typically have static lighting, which for that it usually has to, files coming from ZBrush or anything else typically have to be compressed and then converted and baked, and it's a long process, and pretty much to create a static environment that doesn't change based on differences in lighting and all that, just because in order to do that, in order to do dynamic lighting, which is what they just talked about, it requires a whole lot of calculation and a whole lot of size on the processors, side, which is why games typically have static global illumination and not RTX, which is what you see in movies or the visual effects. It's called ray tray something, exposure processing, something like that. Anyway, so
Ray tracing.
Thank you. I was trying to think if there was like a third name, because it's RTX and then ray tracing, but anyway, so that's what movies use, and video games haven't been able to get that live action quality like that, just because of how much of a burden it is on the processor for whether it's a console or a PC. PCs, of course, can handle it much better than a console can, but it's still a huge file. It's a lot to process, and it can slow down, get laggy, do all that sort of stuff. So this is pretty huge that they're releasing an engine that has that global illumination that is dynamic like that and pretty much changes with the lighting in real time. Yeah, it's crazy. All right, let's continue. There we go.
But first, there was another area that we thought we could push forward: truly virtualized geometry. The artist wouldn't have to be concerned over poly counts, draw calls, or memory. You could directly use film quality assets and bring them straight into the engine.
And that's a big deal for artists. I just want to be able to import my ZBrush model, my photogrammetry scan, my CAD data, without wasting any time optimizing, creating LODs, or even lowering the quality to make it hit frame rate.
And the
Okay, so what he just talked about right there is what really made me go crazy about it, aside from, like, you know, how it looks and how it sounds. But this engine has been optimized with the artist in mind, which to have developer and artist collaborate like this to make something that's truly optimized and not only looks kick-ass, but also optimizes the workflow and cuts a huge chunk of time out of the production phase of a video game is crazy. Like if you, so like I did 2D concept art. So what we were told is to make a, you have the black and white, just the outline version. You have a simple version with like no shading or anything like that. And then you have in high def or your very detailed version that has like all the shadows and lighting and everything. That way, whenever it becomes 3D and goes into ZBrush or Blender or whatever you're using, it can be as realistic as possible. So once you make that, then in order to go into an engine, typically you have to do, it has to be compressed just from the amount of pixels on it, or the poly count is what they're talking about, which is the amount of polygons that's on everything, and that's really where the size and the high def comes from, and all the capability to bounce light off of it. So that's why this is a big deal, because it's not even well, it is and it isn't a matter of how good it looks. It's optimized for artists and the developers in mind. And it looks awesome, and it sounds awesome. And I'm going to shut up now because I'm oozing over this. Okay, let's go.
And that's what it's all about. Art that just works. And we call this new technology Nanite. Here is the future of Unreal Engine running live on a PlayStation 5.
Awesome. Let's take a look at it.
This has to be the right way.
Before we continue, let's stop a moment and take a look at some of the key features of this demo. Much of what you see was built with Quixel Megascan assets, but instead of using the game versions, we used the cinematic versions, which would typically only be used in film. There are around 1 million triangles each, and thanks to virtual texturing, they all use 8K textures as well. Nanite can render an insane number of triangles very quickly. There are over 1 billion triangles of source geometry in each frame that Nanite crunches down losslessly to around 20 million drawn triangles.
Okay. Alright, so I'm going to stop the video there for good because the rest of it just looks amazing and it sounds amazing, and I think you should really check it out on your own. Put the headphones on, dark room, all of that, and just watch it for yourself just to get really the full effect on it. That way you're not just watching it on a computer screen through a smartphone camera. But it looks insanely realistic for a video game. Like, the first time that I was watching this, it looked like that it was captured offline and like thrown into here. Like, it was actually like someone actually went out into nature with the best camera possible and took a picture of it. Like, that's how good this looks. And if you go on through the video, it'll talk about how the new technology also does contextual animation, which is revolutionary. In my opinion, it is, because that's like the sort of stuff whenever, like, if you're trying to think of an example. Imagine if you were playing a shooter and you got shot. You know how in most shooters you get shot and the only thing that you see is like a red outline of the screen, or like the health bar goes down, and most of them like don't have you actually like healing over or being exhausted or almost like collapsing or anything like that. Well, contextual animation would force the game to do that. So that way, as you're trying to find the next health pack, you would actually have to crawl to it just from one bullet, not just from dropping down to like 10% health. Same thing in like whenever you're passing through. In this demo, they do the example of passing through a door and actually putting your hand on the door as you pass through it. It's stuff that wasn't programmed to begin with, but it's stuff that's contextual and it's through an algorithm, and it's just insanely awesome. So I wanted to focus this week's podcast on this, just because I think that this deserves that attention, and also as... I'm just going to change this camera here. Okay. There we go. So I think that we need to focus on this and talk about it, especially just from the artist side of things. Trying to think. I need to have a stand or something like that. Because obviously, if you're a 3D artist, this is insanely helpful as it... Okay, I'm just going to have to hold this up. Alright, I'm just going to hold this up. Hello. Obviously, as a 3D artist, it's huge to workflow, but even for like someone like me who's a 2D artist, it's still a huge... It's still really big that this is happening, because as a 2D artist, it's no longer you just have to make like those 3 versions. It's you can literally just create what you make and then send it to the 3D artist who puts it through ZBrush and everything, and then plug it into the engine and it just works. And the first time I saw this, he had said that what did he say? He said like art just works. That is hilarious to think about, because if you've ever been on the production side of anything, art art never just plugs in. Like whatever you make, you always have to do edits. You always have to compress it. You always have to, and some, depending on the software that you're using, you may even have to like change the color and even like certain shapes of it, or even like the line work and stuff like that. And so just to say that it's art that just works, it's crazy, and it's like a good kind of crazy. So what does that mean for artists, you know? And what does that mean for developers in relation to artists, or vice versa? Does that cut out the middleman of having to constantly run back and forth between your file and the developer who's working in the engine, saying, like, telling you that, hey, this is too big, I need it compressed even further? Is that still going to be around? Probably, but I imagine that it's going to optimize the workflow a lot better, it's going to make the workflow much more efficient, because the artist doesn't have to compress it, and they don't have to do nearly as much. I call it post-production work, just because as far as the artist is concerned, like, we make the stuff, and then after that, we want to send it to whoever we made it for and say, all right, good day. I'm going to go on and make my next thing. And without this engine, from what they describe it as, if it truly is everything that's that they're saying it is, then that means that with the post-production of it, which is doing all that compression and all the converting and everything like that, it's going to, I don't know if it's going to completely cut it out, but it will cut down the time much more. I'm going to guess that it'll completely cut out the time for post-production, where you just take your file and you send it to whoever to plug it in, and it works. You know, art just works. It's just crazy. And so I encourage you to go and check out the actual full tech demo if you haven't. Because if you want to do anything in the gaming industry, like anything on the production side of it, it's something that you need to know. And if you don't know, if you don't know about it, I have absolutely no clue how you don't know about it. It's pretty big. And, you know, I was talking with my boyfriend a couple months ago, and we were wondering about, like, when the next gen of video game graphics was going to come out. And, you know, I think that this is it. Like, this, like, Unreal Engine 5, it looks real time. It looks like a live action. Like, even through the gameplay of it, like, it has the cutscenes, it has that level of quality to it. It looks live action. The animation is so fluid. It, you know, the waiting in the water portion of the demo, I really don't know what happened there, because there are other games that have much better animation and graphics with that. But everything else has been really, really amazing, and I dare say it looks flawless. And it's just crazy that this is where we're at now, and I'm excited about it, as you could probably tell. But anyway, I just wanted to spend this episode just talking about that, and just wanting to know what your thoughts are on it. If you're a developer, what do you think about this? And feel free to fact check me on anything that I've said. Totally okay. Like I said before, I'm just an artist. I'm not a developer. That's a different side of the house. If you're a 3D or 2D artist, or artist at all, still let me know what you think about it. If you haven't seen the tech demo, watch the tech demo. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know if you think it's worth being this excited, or not. I think my only... I think where my skepticism kind of comes in with this is how the systems are going to handle it, as far as, like, processing wise, because with the demo and everything that they're talking about, it just seems like that the video game might be like, I don't see how it can be less than like 300 gigs of size for just one game with everything that they're showing. So I really want to know how they're going to compress that, Or are we just all going to have to get an insane amount of storage for our consoles? I don't know. I'm sure PCs, as PCs are the master race, I'm sure that they're going to be able to handle it a lot better and more efficiently. So I think that's going to be the only drawback of it. But let me know what you think. Let me know if you think this is worth being excited for, or if you think there's going to be something better that comes out almost after, like directly after this. I don't know if there is. I think it'd be kind of crazy to top this, just because to have an engine that was fully collaborative between artists and developers, I think was a genius move by Epic. And granted, I don't know, I'm not a historian on game engines by any means. I just play the games. I love making art for the games. I love making character concepts for them. But I'm not a developer at all. So, as far as like other engines go, I don't know how they were made, if they had the same level of collaboration or not. But I think that this is fantastic, and I'm so excited. And you really need to watch the tech demo. Don't know if I've said that before. But anyway, so that's all I wanted to do for this podcast, was just to let you know of the new engine. And if you have any thoughts on it, let me know. I don't know what we're going to talk about next week for next week's podcast. Maybe talk about the creative process, because I have a few fun stories with that one. But if we don't talk about that, we'll talk about something else. Anyway, so I'll see you on Twitch at noon Central Time next Wednesday. Today's July 1st. I don't know what next Wednesday is. Whatever 7 days is from now. I think that's the 8th, if my math is correct. So that's it for now. Stay creative. Remember to create without limits. I will see you on the flip side. Bye.